Oh, this seems a lot better. Maybe it was turning off uBlock Origin that did it.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
So
Okay, so camera is over there. I have to look there to say hi to everybody. Microphone is here. And yeah, I know the audio of the room probably is a bit echoey. I apologize for that. Let me see if I can find. So do I send people? Yeah, I send people to this live thing. Okay. Great. Let me go send people to this on my announcements in
so we're getting started now.
we are live.
Okay. I didn't know if you were just testing or
No, we are actually live right now. And I'm just gonna send this to my channel. And I don't think we should dilly-dally too long here, because I think people want to hear what I have to say. Hey everybody, I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. I'm trying to look at the camera over here, but no, the camera's over here. I'm so trained to look over here. The camera is here. Hello everyone. So I am in Scotland with Kaylee. This is Kaylee's tree and Kaylee's apartment here. And I'm spending the next few weeks here, so we're going to be producing this show here. And I'll have to fix some things from time to time, like, the audio might be a little echoey, or maybe it's not quite perfectly in sync. I really have no idea how well this is going to go. But heck, I thought we would try and do a little. So I did it again. I looked over at the camera. It's over here. We'll try and do a bit of a coverage of this DMCA Tarkov thing. It's a bit of a weird thing that's happened. I wrote down literally like 3 lines of things that I want to say, because there's not much for me to recap for you. You should go watch the videos in the description, or at least I tried to post videos in the description. The videos from Sid Alpha and from the Quartering do a good job of explaining what is going on. And so everybody wanted to sort of know what my perspective was on the legal side of things. So this is not going to be one of those streams with a lot of visual aids or anything. I have nothing prepared to show you. So just, put the audio on in the background and listen to me or watch me talk or whatever. But we're going to talk about this for a moment. So yeah, Shane, I did see your tweet and a few others. A lot of you were asking about this story and what in the world would be going on here. Well, I mean, I don't have all the details other than what I saw from the Quartering's video and Sid Alpha's video about what the underlying dispute is between Eroktik and, I did see Eroktik's game too, but Eroktik's video too, but I don't know what exactly the underlying dispute is. As in, I'm not trying to weasel my way out of anything either. What I'm saying is that let's first remember that we aren't Eroktik. We don't have 100% of the inside information, and so what we're about to talk about is more so from the 30,000 foot view. But I think we can get a lot of detail from here, though. And what it looks like has happened is that the developers Battle, what is it? I have it written down here. Battle State Games, the creators of or developers of Escape from Tarkov, disagreed with the coverage that Eroktik was reporting on their game, and apparently there was a leak of some database information, and maybe there were some allegations that there were some hackers in the game or something. If I understand it correctly, he wasn't the hacker and he wasn't the leaker of the information. He was saying, hey, there's a problem. This information can be leaked and can be people can hack the game, basically. So you correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. I am looking at you. Please definitely let me know if I've got the facts of this case wrong, but that's what I understand happened. So then Tarkov, I'm just going to refer to the developers and everybody as Tarkov. The Tarkov then issues apparently DMCA takedown notices, not just on the videos they disagreed with, but on Eroktik's entire channel. A total of 44 DMCA takedowns were sent, and all I can really think of is that this sounds an awful lot like Alex Mauer. This really does. From what I saw of Eroktik's video, again, don't know 100% of the nitty-gritty details, but from what I saw of Eroktik's video, it was just a regular video. Tarkov does have a public streaming policy. You are allowed to stream Tarkov. Now, we covered something last year where could somebody revoke the streaming policy as to one single individual? Well, yes. And they could revoke Eroktik's right to stream their game, permission to stream their game. That's not necessarily the best thing to do, but it's not illegal. They can cancel his license. It would be an express or implied license to stream the game. That's what we all do whenever we're streaming a game. It's really not that you're doing it with the law on your side so much. We haven't really established fair use for streaming yet. So when you're streaming, what you're really doing is using the material under an implied license or express license. You're possibly making a fair use of it, and there's a lot of creativity added. For instance, when you're playing Super Smash Brothers, nothing happens unless you're pressing buttons. So you're adding something to the game. You're choosing to jump and dash and hit and smash at particular times and all that. So there's an argument to be made that you're creating something and you're making a fair use of the material and transforming it and such. But that's not what we're talking about, because that's not been tested really in the courts yet. What we're talking about, 47 DMCAs, according to Tactical here. The reason this can be done is because of the way the law is written. YouTube is trying to stay in their safe harbor. Safe harbor means that they can't be sued for the underlying copyright infringement or copyright related things that happen. So if they follow the DMCA procedure and respond to Tarkov's takedowns by actually following them and taking things down, and then following the counter notice procedure and then allowing the parties to figure it out, YouTube is fully in their safe harbor, and that's where they want to be. They don't want to be anywhere else but safe from legal action. That's just the way it is. So YouTube is going to allow it to happen, and there's nothing really that YouTube can do about it without a court order, which is what we did, which is what I did, and Don Thacker and Imagos did last year when Alex Mauer issued, was it over 100 takedown notices to anything related to Starmazer and Starmazer DSP and Alex Mauer's work on the music of the game. And she eventually signed a settlement agreement in favor of Don and me, saying that her claims were not sound, that she didn't have a claim to the game or its music or anything, and that she was not going to issue. I think there was something in there about not issuing any more threats to us, because they were like physical threats of violence too. We had to report that to police and authorities, and I think she met with the FBI. It was a real big deal. This isn't that part, but this is the massive takedowns in order to make a big wave, get some publicity, or just have your way. I don't know where Battlestate Games is from, but I'm going to guess that they're not familiar with American DMCA law, or at least as much as they should be based on what I saw. It is an abuse of the DMCA process to take something down that's not related to an actual copyright claim. The DMCA process is not for breaches of an NDA that otherwise don't include a copyright claim. It's not for revelations of hacking that don't otherwise include a copyright claim. It's not for revelations of somebody's database breach, as long as it doesn't include a copyright claim, a legitimate meritorious copyright claim. So does Tarkov have a legitimate copyright claim over Eroktik's material? And that is a question that looks like no, they don't. And I can't answer that for certain without either talking to Eroktik and seeing the evidence for myself, or hearing an absolute admission from Tarkov. Now, Tarkov has admitted a bunch of stuff. They seem to have gone on to Facebook, and there were some things posted on Reddit as well. I'm not sure if that was from them or just a discussion about it, but they seem to have, but Tarkov themselves seem to have posted, yeah, we did this because we wanted to get the misinformation off of the internet. And then they went into a big explanation about how Eroktik was doing something wrong. I disagree, but I don't have all the nitty-gritty details, and I've only spent about 2 hours today watching the videos and sort of looking at it. But the basic thing that I'm getting at here, or the basic premise of this whole thing, is that you have to sue. You can't just issue a DMCA counter notice. You have to go to a court, file a $400 lawsuit, ask for a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order. If you're not going to do that, at least ask for your relief and go through your trial and everything. This is the only way it gets resolved. Tarkov can do this until somebody stops them. And if nobody stops them, then what does that mean? They did it. I don't know. I'm a bit of a bastard, and I compare it to like when you drive down the road and somebody is misbehaving and like weaving in and out of traffic and causing a big problem. Well, yeah. Well, what happens when that person is obviously causing a huge problem? Maybe like going to cause damage or injury to someone. Now you start to think about, well, we got to stop this. You got to do something to stop it, or call it in or something. So the only thing to do to stop this, not just Tarkov, but the behavior in general of false DMCAs, the only thing to do about it is we have to sue. So I'm not saying, I guess I'm not saying I wouldn't take the case. So I don't want to mark this as attorney advertising, but I guess it could be. If Eroktik called me, I would talk to him about it. If anybody else who's received false DMCAs wanted to talk about suing the plaintiff or suing the sender, the claimant of the false DMCA. So some of the things you can do, there is a law in the DMCA, Section 512, F as in Frank, called Misrepresentations. And it says that when you're making a DMCA claim, you're making a representation that your claim is true and correct. And you're doing so under penalty of perjury, and you're doing so claiming under the Lens v. Universal standard, showing that you've considered fair use more than just a fleeting consideration, but an actual reasoning, weighing of the factors and understanding of the fair use. You don't necessarily have to get it right. You can get a fair use analysis wrong and not be liable under DMCA 512F. However, it doesn't seem like Tarkov is doing anything to show how much they're really trying to meet the fair use standard or really trying to understand copyright law. This seems to be more so they've identified a tool. If we click these buttons on YouTube, videos get taken down, and that's what we want. So who else cares? And then let's take this one step further. What if Tarkov has enough money that it doesn't matter? What if Tarkov is popular? I mean, I've seen a couple of you play it and talk about it. We did a little bit of a search on the Discord to see how popular this topic was before I went live, and there were a bunch of you talking about this game before this happened. So I'm assuming that some of you have paid for it. It's a paid game, right? So if you've paid for it, the developer has some money. Maybe they don't care about 44 spurious DMCA claims from Eroktik. What's that? $20,000, $50,000, $100,000? Does that matter to a Tarkov game that might have millions? I don't know. Maybe they would prefer to win the battle and lose the war on that sense. The other thing is that it's not just a DMCA violation. There is something called slander of title. I have seen this. It is called slander of title, even if it's written. Slander is spoken, libel is written. We call them both defamation of character. In this case, it would be defamation of title. Now, this is something that's usually reserved for real estate. However, real estate is property, and videos are intellectual property. So I could make an argument to a court that copyright should apply, or slander of title or defamation of title should apply to a copyright claim. And what it is basically is if I illegally claim ownership to your video, as in I own something in your video, which is basically what a DMCA claim is, says that I own something in your video and you don't have permission to use it, then you could be damaged by that. That might be something that's disseminated publicly, that other people now know that you have this DMCA claim, and they may say, "Oh, I wonder what Eroktik did that Tarkov is saying that they own the things that he's put on YouTube instead of him." And then if Eroktik is damaged, well, this sounds an awful lot like a defamation claim. The difference is that this defamation claim has to involve property. So maybe we have to convince a judge that real estate property and intellectual property can both have slander of title. Eroktik in chat. Like right now?
Yeah, he just commented twice if he can watch this on his Twitch.
Can you watch this on your Twitch? I don't think I'm not casting to Twitch. I'd be happy to.
I think he might more mean if he can watch this video on Twitch and react to it or something like that.
I mean, my video?
Yeah, watch your video.
I'll put it up on Twitch.
Probably have to.
I'll scroll down and see what he says too.
Yeah.
So yeah, clear up what you want us to watch on Twitch, or because I'd be happy to post this on this video on Twitch. I'm not simultaneously. Oh, can he watch us talk about it on his Twitch? Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely, 100% permission, absolutely, and you can show that. Okay, so I guess we'll hang out for a moment, and that's powered, and this is powered, and okay, so we don't have anything running on battery. We're good.
Yeah.
We found 3 UK adapters, and all of my power supplies are working, and yeah, so we're good.
So.
Cool, excellent. Eroktik will be live on Twitch with this video. Okay, so I guess I'll recap then. So you have the Eroktik Battle. I already forgot about what the name is. Battle State Games. Okay, that's an interesting name. Battle State Games. I am in the UK, John Doe. I'm in Glasgow right now with Kaylee. So you have Battle State Games sending 47 spurious DMCA takedown notices. I did it again. I looked over at the camera. Spurious DMCA notices to Eroktik's channel. Basically, I think this takes down his channel. It gets gone until the 2 weeks and 2 weeks are up or something, if the counterclaims go through and all that.
Yeah.
So do I want to try and arrange Brandon? Yes. If you want to facilitate a conversation, that'd be great. If I don't think we want to do that right now on stream, but I would definitely be willing to speak to Eroktik. Eroktik says, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. Yeah. So yes, I will have lots of questions. I'm not sure that I have all of them prepared now. I actually did not expect you to show up. Sorry. That's awesome though. Thank you for that. But where was I? So the DMCA process is not meant to be used this way. That much is clear, and you guys got you're on the right track that this is a misuse of copyright. Oh yeah, and let's talk about that. That was the third thing I wanted to talk. Remember what misuse of copyright is. Remember when Wargaming, what was it? They took down somebody's video for something and it wasn't related to copyright. We talked about misuse of copyright. Misuse of copyright is a copyright doctrine. And if you abuse your copyright by, for example, using it to send illegal takedown notices, at some point, a judge agrees that you are no longer using your copyright for the purposes of copyright, which are to promote the sciences and the useful arts. Video games would fall under probably both sciences and useful arts, probably closer to useful arts. Yes, but well, I hang on. Let me follow me here for a second, though. A video game is developers developing a lot of algorithms and mathematics and physics, or at least approximations of physics. I mean.
Okay, somebody's saying
I'm not saying it's 50-50. I'm just saying that it does contribute to the sciences a little bit. So I think, I'm clear in saying that if Tarkov is not using their copyrights for legitimate purposes, then they would be potentially misusing their copyright. And in copyright law, when you misuse a copyright, at some point, the judge says that you're not using your copyright for that purpose, for the purpose of copyright, and you don't deserve to have one. You literally just don't deserve to have a copyright anymore. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen to Tarkov. That would be... The judges don't generally like to take extreme, egregious measures quickly. So that would only be something if Tarkov really, really, really messed up here. And maybe if somebody brought them to court and then they continued to defy the court or something, maybe something like that would happen. But I do want you to know that that's ultimately what happens here. If somebody misuses their copyright, all these arguments get made in a lawsuit if someone wants to take that thing to court. Now, I don't know where Tarkov is located, so we have to figure that out. And I don't know where Eroktik is located, so we have to figure that out. Because if neither of them are in the U.S., but YouTube is in the U.S., now we have to figure out who to sue, like where. Obviously, we're going to be suing Tarkov, but do we sue them in the U.S.? They're going to come into the U.S. and say there's no jurisdiction over them. But we're going to say yes, you sent DMCAs using YouTube.com.
Okay, so apparently they're UK and Eroktik is Croatia.
BSG is UK and Eroktik is Croatia. Okay, so we also have to figure out where in the world to sue. YouTube is in the United States, in the Northern District of California. That'd probably be the best place to start looking. Or you would try to find laws that would work under either UK law or Croatia law. Yeah. And you'd sue either from Croatia, only if you had the right law. Like they don't have a DMCA, at least not. It's not called a DMCA. It's going to be called something else, or they're not going to have one. In the UK, I don't know what your DMCA law is.
Neither.
So, but the problem really isn't much to do with the UK or Croatia, because YouTube is in the United States and the DMCA is a United States law. So we would have to find the appropriate jurisdiction, which I'm again guessing is Northern California, which is where Santa Clara County is, which is where YouTube says their choice of law is. However, you could probably find any place that met, I'm going to get too detailed in law here, but anywhere that met the jurisdictional requirements from the International Shoe case, minimum contacts with the forum state. We don't need to go over that right now. It just means that Tarkov can be doing business with Pennsylvania, and so we could sue them in Pennsylvania. Or maybe, maybe their lead developer who did this visits North Carolina a lot, so maybe you can sue them in North Carolina. That's what I'm saying. Those are maybes. Those are hypotheticals and reaching at that too. Probably the best place to sue is Northern District of California without knowing more. So if Eroktik wanted to pursue litigation, which, not knowing more about the case, I do recommend that these sorts of things be litigated against, because there is no consequence to Tarkov without it. And even then, the consequence will be limited to either statutory or actual damages. And we will have to register these copyrights, because the United States has a requirement that you have to file for the registration, and sometimes have to have received the registration before you can sue. So we have to go into court and make all of those arguments that your copyright application that you're going to be making for $35 or whatever, or maybe as a compilation or something, you make those copyright registrations, and then while those applications are pending, you have to sue, and then you sue, and then you have to get jurisdiction, and they're going to argue against jurisdiction, and you eventually get jurisdiction, and then you get into make your DMCA claim, and then maybe you'll get a settlement or a win after that, and get some sort of precedential law about what has to happen. And if you remember the Lentz v. Universal case, this took 6-8 years. So this is what Tarkov is taking advantage of. Who in their right mind would want to go through that process over 44 videos on a YouTube channel? And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying just from their perspective, what are you going to do? Are you really going to go through that? Well, I think you have to. I think Eroktik, or at least a person in this sort of situation, not knowing the exact nitty-gritty details about. I haven't seen every single second of all 47 videos that were taken down, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe there's something in there. Yeah, it seems more like Tarkov reacted by just blaming Eroktik and everybody who complained, and saying that we're all just misunderstanding the situation. And I don't automatically agree with that. I think the chances are much more likely that the underlying material was not offensive in the illegal sense, and that the ultimate outcome of a properly litigated case would be that the DMCA would be upheld. They admitted that they randomly copyright striked first statement on Facebook. I did see that. They sent it. It's It's how much of an admission. They admitted to sending it and all that, and that would be great evidence to use in court against them. They can still come back and say, well, we said that on Facebook, but what we really meant was this behind the scenes. So that's what I'm saying, is that their official story in court will change, and that we don't know what that's going to be. And any other unknowns that we don't, any unknown unknowns. That's just, you have known knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. It's fun to say. But your unknown unknowns are, of course, the worst ones, because you never know what's going to happen, because by definition, you don't know. Sorry, now I'm just ranting. Okay, so they admitted to the copyright striking, which will be evidence that you would use in court. And let's see. It really is kind of an open and shut case at this level of facts, so long as somebody funds a defense or not a defense, an action. The Tarkov would be on the defense. So what we really need, or what Eroktik, well, I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone, but if Eroktik wanted to pursue litigation, we'd probably need to raise funds, or someone would need to pay for the litigation at the very least. I would be willing to represent, but that doesn't mean that I'm automatically the lawyer or anything. Eroktik can choose one of many thousands of millions of lawyers in the country/world, probably even. So I don't want anybody to. I don't want to assume that I'm getting involved here or anything. I'm just offering. And anyone else who has been affected by this kind of thing, the same thing goes for all that. You have to fight these things. It doesn't get better if we don't fight. It just, more and more companies are going to figure out that they can get away with making false, spurious, egregious, or I forget what words I'm using, false DMCAs, misrepresentations, because nobody does anything about it. Heck, I have the opposite problem. I did get 2 spurious claims this year, but I also had, which was it? WorldStar Hip Hop copied one of my videos, and one of their people put it up on their channel, or on their website. It got 100,000+ views in like 20 minutes. So I would like I just asked for a basic license fee for that. That's all. Yeah, we got a spurious claim from Warner Brothers over a dial tone.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
I remember that, yes.
And then I think after that one was there was another one someplace in there. Yeah, I think the one after that was the fake cop thing, not an actual copyright claim on my video, but rather me having to send copyright claims.
So I managed to find.
Okay, the cat is about to attack the camera.
Come here. Let's see. Now you have to show yourself.
Yeah, Mr. Tiberium. Mr. Tiberium, we did get a copy strike over a dial tone on Twitch. Now, on Twitch, there really aren't any terrible consequences. They just mute the audio for the video or whatever. And in this case, we traced it back to certain seconds, and those seconds of our video and their claim were a dial tone. It was literally, we had used a phone dial tone for something, and even though we used
it was your mom who called or something.
Right, it wasn't even, we didn't use a phone dial tone.
No.
There was just a phone call.
Yeah.
And there was a dial tone somehow in the phone on the audio, and so it wasn't even where we used audio. We didn't get an audio file and use it, and somebody said, "Oh no, that's my audio file." This was actually a dial tone recorded from the phone company. So that's not copyright infringement. Especially, by the way, in case you don't know, a dial tone is a functional piece of audio.
Yeah. It
is not just something that you hear, but the tone also tells equipment on the other end when the phone is off the hook. So the dial tone can't be copyrighted because it is functional. Today I learned. Today you learned. Anyway, so This doesn't need to be a terribly, terribly long video. I think maybe we should cut it short here eventually. But I did want to talk about this.
Oh God.
The cat's going to play with her toy now. That's great.
Yeah, just.
No, we're fine. We're fine. It's a relaxed Monday evening.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because it says it's 4:30 on my clock here, but it's not 4:30 outside.
So here's the little culprit.
It's very
that
dark
is
outside.
Trying to take down your camera. That's Lucy. Ooh.
Yes, Matthew, you can't copyright a dial tone and then demand licensing fees from everyone who makes a phone call, which I don't think Warner Brothers was demanding licensing fees, but they were automatically issuing matches on copyright strikes. And then somebody messaged me here.
That's random.
Complete hypothetical. Can you ask him if the case did go to court, how would any claims that would be awarded by a judge, either against BSG or Eroktik, get enforced, as there are at least 3 different jurisdictions involved? Very good question. How in the world would you enforce a copyright judgment against BSG or Eroktik? But for, I'm kind of on Eroktik's side, so let's just assume that BSG is in the wrong here for a moment. So one, depends on what you're asking for. If you're asking for an injunction or such, that can be increasingly escalated here in the US. You would get such an injunction, preliminary injunction or temporary restraining order, or other injunctive order. It doesn't have to be a preliminary one. It could be at the end of a case too. You'd get some kind of injunctive order or other order here in the US. Let's pretend Northern District of California. So now let's pretend you've got a judgment in the Northern District of California and an order and all that. The defendant, Tarkov, might not obey the order. And your question is, well, what are you going to do about it? They can just continue this. What are you going to do about it? Right? Because they're in the UK or they're in, whatever. And Eroktik's in Croatia. Well, first, the company being subject to jurisdiction in the court, assuming that went through properly and you got, you were sound on jurisdiction, which you wouldn't need to worry about. You'd either have jurisdiction or they'd fight it and you wouldn't. If they didn't fight it, it's not something that comes up later. But, well, I guess it could come up later. It could ultimately come up. If jurisdiction really was that far off, it could come up. But let's pretend that jurisdiction's good because that'll just make it easier. If jurisdiction in Northern California is good, which I'm assuming it is because it applies to YouTube, then anything that BSG disobeyed would be still enforceable in Northern California and through YouTube. And the judge could issue an order to YouTube or something to take action against Tarkov or something like that, remove their ability to file DMCA claims or something like that. You might have to name YouTube as a party at that point or something. Judgments, though, valid judgments can be visited against other countries. You can take a valid judgment into Canada or the UK or any other cooperating nation. I don't know what the status of Croatia is, but I'm assuming that they're also EU. And if there was a valid judgment in America, that you could take that to an EU court or a Croatian court and get the court to recognize that. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't. Of course, this is complicated. Of course, now, is Leonard French admitted as an attorney in the UK? No, I can't just go into the UK and say, hey, I've got this American case. I should be allowed to prosecute it here in the UK. No, I come to the UK with my judgment and I hire a UK solicitor and I get them to go to court and have the judge recognize the judgment. And how much of this does Tarkov pay for? Does Tarkov pay for the fact that you had to go through 2 different countries to get? I don't know. Get to look up the law in the UK or Croatia or the US and figure out who pays who at the end of the thing. Under copyright, 17 USC 505, the prevailing party is due their fees. The judge may issue the fees to the prevailing party. Does that mean that the UK is going to automatically observe that? Maybe we do have something called the English rule, which is different from the American rule, and these rules are just terms of art that govern who pays who at the end of a lawsuit. The American rule is that generally both parties pay their own way. even if one loses and one wins. There has to be some kind of law or policy already in place that a judge can refer to and say, yeah, I really think this case warrants the losing party paying the winning party. We do have such a law in copyright, like I just said. So then when you get over to the UK, I guess that's where Battlestate Games is. We have the English rule, which is that the prevailing party gets their fees paid. So that should be something that could be used against them. So maybe you skip suing them in the United States. Maybe you go straight to suing them in the UK and skip a whole section of litigation. But do you have the same level of copyright protection, and will you get the same remedy? You'll want to evaluate both. You'll really want to know, what outcome could I get in the US, what outcome could I get in Croatia, and what outcome could I get in in the UK where BSG is, and how easily could I enforce those things. So this is a complicated freaking case. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, I'm getting multiple people telling me that BSG is in the UK, so I'm guessing they are. I'm just going to type it in.
From what I heard, they're a Russian company who have headquarters in the UK.
Oh, well, that's enough. That's enough to get jurisdiction. Yeah. Let me see what Wikipedia says about it.
Russian studio was the first line.
Russian studio.
I think somewhere someone said it was being located in London.
Okay.
But
well, that will matter.
That's only from what
because
I read.
If it's in Russia, you might have a completely different problem, because I know Russia doesn't observe our copyright laws the way that we'd like them to. So right now I'm broadcasting from Scotland, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, we have more questions here. Let's see. Their statement, okay, they're saying they acted so strong and so quick to stop misinformation about a data leak. That's not the way the DMCA is used. I don't even mean like you could make the argument. It says, right now we are reviewing all the videos. If we find those videos have no issues, we'll call back our strikes. Again, that's out of order. You do those analyses and then issue a copyright strike under Lens v. Universal, or basically any tenet of copyright law. Otherwise, you've damaged somebody. We didn't react to negative criticism, but in this particular case, they say Eroktik has crossed the line. Of course, they don't say how. We know what this instrument is designed for, referring to the DMCA claim system. Well, that's a great admission, because if they're admitting that they're misusing the DMCA system, you don't have to prove that in court. Let me see what Satori has posted here. No, don't leave the site that we're streaming from. Why wouldn't you post? Why wouldn't YouTube doesn't automatically open links in a new tab? Battlestate Games is a limited company registered in England and Wales under company number 100361119, and I won't give their address, but United Kingdom is the address. So yeah, that's good. That's a lot better than Russia. I think I'm a lot more confident recommending that Eroktik either contact me and have a direct conversation with me, or contact a UK lawyer, solicitor, I guess they call them, right? And try and work something out there. And maybe if money is an issue, I mean, even I'm willing to throw in $100 or whatever. So I mean, we could definitely try and help defer the costs as well. Hello. Yes. Are you playing? Huh?
She's trying to steal the treats. She's being a little thief, so I grabbed her.
She's a cutie.
I know. She likes you.
All right. John Roddy asks how to identify a litigious jerk, make specific claims of defamation against a broad subject. Yeah. Even if Tarkov does have legitimate meritorious concerns. I'll stop sort of using the word complaint because that's an actual legal term. Let's say that they have concerns about the content. The cat literally just stole the bag of treats. Great. Okay, so now I distracted that.
I know. Sorry.
The cat is literally trying to get the bag open.
She's able to do that, by the way.
She is able to get it open eventually. You might want to take that from her.
Yes.
I forgot what I was saying. So yes, they violated the DMCA process. They don't have a good reason for it. It is not a shoot first and ask questions later process. Yes, they are taking advantage, intentionally or not, they are taking advantage of the DMCA process not being something that is easily accessible for a recipient of a claim to defend against. That is definitely something that they're taking advantage of. And the only way to start turning the tide in this great war of copyright claims is to actually defend the ones that are wrong. If somebody issues a takedown and it's right, okay. I mean, you got me or whatever. But if they issue a takedown and it's wrong, we all just issue our counter notice and then just go about our business, right? Yes. Well, that's fine if you're making videos and you really don't care about the money, but some of us live off of this now. And it's really a very interesting way to live because there's absolutely no guarantee that your channel will be there tomorrow. YouTube could just decide to pull your channel, and that would be something else. That wouldn't even be a Battle State Games situation. If YouTube pulled your channel, we already saw how that works. They're just allowed to do that. They can curate their content, and that's one of the things they can do is just say, sorry, we don't want you on here anymore. I think they have to do that clearly, but it's a discussion for another time, I think. Yes, so the main problem here isn't that they didn't have any concerns. The main problem here is that their concerns were acted upon before they had all the facts in place to act. If there are legitimate copyright claims on Eroktik's videos, then they should make those as legitimate claims, not make 47 claims and then decide, well, now we're going to start our investigation because a bunch of people complained. That doesn't seem right at all. YouTube could do stuff. The reason we sort of went over this in the very beginning, 42 minutes ago, the reason why I don't think YouTube is doing anything is because they want to stay in their safe harbor. If they get too involved, remember what happened to LiveJournal? LiveJournal was held accountable for their moderation. It became, I believe it was a copyright issue and responsibility kind of issue, whereas instead of being in some kind of safe harbor because they were hands off, they were no longer in their safe harbor because they curated their content so much. Even though it was user submitted content, a person still looked at it and vetted it and validated it and approved it, and that was enough to say, well, you could just do a copyright analysis while you're doing that. Some people are asking
about the camera.
I'm watching our output.
Oh no, I didn't any say, but one of them said when in disco mode. Some people saying Wokamen.
I don't know. Something did die. My laptop's not charging anymore. Yeah, my laptop died, so we're going to cut this short. Power. Oh, no, it's charging again. It came back on. Which is weird, because the light's not on the charger. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so that's really all I think I wanted to say about that. We could go on, but at this point, we're just going to be going in circles. We kind of circled back twice already. Could be a power surge or something. We'll see. I'll deal with it. Don't know why my light's not on. But you're still here because I can see the output.
I like that rainbow card.
All right, guys. Do you have any last questions before I shut down the stream and call it a day? And see you tomorrow in some video that I'll edit from Sunday stream. We do. Andre says we seriously need to punish this type of behavior.
Yes.
We do. The cats are named Lucy and Penny.
Lucy,
Lucy is the aggressive one,
burglar.
the burglar, and Penny will probably be nowhere to be found.
Penny's the fat, grumpy one.
She'll pop her head up once in a while.
Penny, let's see how you...
Is the no refund policy legit? Yeah, and most of the time, these companies that have no refund policies, they're allowed to have a no refund policy. They have to comply with various state and federal, and then of course each country's laws on refunds. So they do have to issue refunds under those circumstances, whatever those are. But there isn't a US law that says they have to issue refunds for video games. So really it comes down to kind of a case-by-case basis. If you bought a game and you instantly decide you didn't want it, that's a much clearer case for a refund, and almost seems a given that you'd be able to get a refund as long as you met maybe some basic conditions, like not opening a physical game disc or something like that. But if you buy a game and play it for a little while, then this becomes muddier. The Fallout 76 situation is one of these. People had to buy the game and play it to find out that it was broken. And then, well, have you played enough of the game now that you've got what you paid for and you shouldn't get a refund? So we'll have to take each one of these as they go. Tarkov will have to be potentially litigated and see what happens to that case, and then other cases as well. Is it easier to stream with dogs or cats? I don't know.
No.
I'll tell you after the 3 weeks.
Well, so far, dogs didn't try to unplug your camera.
Yeah, that's true.
And just come and burgle all the treats.
Is Eroktik able to join stream chat? He's in stream chat. He was before, and he was streaming this on his Twitch channel as well. I gave him permission for that. Eroktik answered a few questions, but as I said, I don't really have a lot to say specifically to Eroktik publicly. I'd be willing to speak to the situation privately. I'd possibly be willing to represent under the right circumstances. And I think that this is the kind of case that needs to be at least explored by a lawyer. But I mean, I'm a lawyer. Lawyers are going to tell you to hire lawyers, and not just because we want money. I actually do think it's good for you to get your legal rights from an expert in your country, or your, in this case, I would probably contact somebody in the UK because you'd want to sue there.
Yep.
Any thoughts or future conversations about Soldier Boy's game console shipping with Nintendo IP present on them? I don't know anything about that. That's worth looking into. You're the second or third person to mention that. Worldwide indifference. Let's see. The game is currently in beta. What we paid for is a pre-order, which included access to the closed beta. Okay. Then you're going to have various arguments back and forth about whether you got what you paid for, or whether you deserve a refund before the game launches. I don't really know how that would work.
Yeah.
It was a beta. I don't know. That would probably have to have been part of the bargained for consideration in the contract when you bought the thing.
For Richard, he say, I can't remember exactly, but here in the UK, there's a selling law giving you a set amount of time to change your mind and get a refund. That's 14 days.
Yeah,
by the way, under Scottish law at least.
Scottish law, 14 days. So if you bought Tarkov and you want to refund it in Scotland within 14 days, you can do so. Yes. According to Kelly.
According to my law book.
So Tactical brings up a good point that Eroktik asked for permission before streaming my stream. And that's great. That's how you're supposed to do that. And if I hadn't given him permission, of course, that sucks and he wouldn't be able to stream my stream. But I did give permission. And that's really the big deal here, is just go get permission before you... I mean, that's not the big deal with Battle State games, but I mean, get permission before you go do stuff, and then you don't have to worry about DMCAs. Now, Battle State Games did the opposite. They didn't get permission to infringe on his copyrights. And of course, this isn't the... I mean, you wouldn't before you'd issue DMCA takedown notices, but you know, they've admitted that it's really not their copyright. It's really just they're ticked off about leaking information, which is not what the copyright law is meant to cover. Let's take this one step further. Let's say that I signed a non-disclosure agreement and then I violated the non-disclosure agreement by producing some video. Can you go issue a DMCA takedown legally? No. You would have to have some underlying copyright issue. Maybe a judge would agree that the parties could say in a contract that the proper remedy for a disclosure will include DMCAs. But if that's, I mean, I'm talking about having to expressly say that. If you don't, the default rule would be that a violation of a contract, back this up, the default rule would be that a violation of an NDA would be a violation of a contract. You do not issue copyright claims for violations of contracts. So what Tarkov should have done, if there was a violation of an NDA, is sue in court, get a preliminary injunction, temporary restraining order. They should probably have something in that non-disclosure agreement, like a liquidated damages clause that says, in the event of a breach, it's going to be really hard to calculate actual damages. So let's just assume those damages are $20,000. And both parties would agree to that. And if somebody violated that NDA, you'd owe $20,000. Now, that's not necessarily a good clause to put in an NDA, because what if the damages are more than $20,000? So you have to be careful about how you phrase those things. But hypothetically speaking, that's the concept, is that they would go to court, get an injunction, sue for damages. You don't issue DMCA takedown notices for non-copyright claims. And if you do, you're subject to DMCA 512F, which makes you liable for perjury. Now, I don't think you can sue somebody for perjury, because perjury is a criminal offense and there isn't a civil tying of that criminal offense to a civil claim. But you can sue for the misrepresentation itself, and you are due your costs. So if you prevail under a DMCA 512F claim, then you would get your money back. And I tell my clients, I phrase it this way: you'd have another fight over getting most of your money back. Lawyers, there's a lot of rules here. Lawyers are only allowed to charge a reasonable fee. So the opposing side is going to come in and say, well, they didn't charge a reasonable fee. It doesn't even matter what the facts are. That's what they're going to say. So they're going to say you didn't charge a reasonable fee, or they're going to say something cuts off your ability to recover fees after a certain point or something. So you have that fight, and then you get some of your money back. Hopefully all of your money back if your lawyer did a good job and the fees were reasonable and they kept track of everything properly. You get all your money back. But these are also risks that you don't. So I don't know. Crowdfunding sounds like a great way to raise money for Eroktik's solicitor, or whatever it's going to be, if it's going to be. But that also has problems. What if the case doesn't really pan out and doesn't go to court or something, and there was lots of money donated? Where does that all go, and who keeps that? And is everybody going to get pissed off at Eroktik for keeping it or something? So work all that out. You don't want to just go do. You have to work all that out first. Don't shoot first and ask questions later, like Tarkov has done. Do your homework. It only takes a little bit of time. Writing it down really helps. Write down the things that you've done or the steps that you're about to take. I could use some of my own advice too, as I forgot 2 or 3 things that I tried to pack for here, but it happens.
Yeah.
So more questions. Grounds for a suit. Grounds for a suit would be the DMCA. ELD says BSG hit my channel with 47 2 months ago. I appealed. They didn't sue. Do I have recourse? You have recourse. Yes. You have 3 years to file a claim under that DMCA 512F or some other statute, which could have a different statute of limitations, different from 3 years. So defamation might be 2, I think. And it varies by state. So depending on what state you're filing in, it might be 1, it might be 3, who knows? So, yeah, you still have a claim. Now, this isn't a claim for a windfall. No one is getting $1 million for a false DMCA claim. The people who would get $1 million were the people who spent $1 million or had $1 million in damage, actual damage, which that's not going to happen. So there's definitely damage to 47 videos, and whether it's your channel or Eroktik's channel, there's monetary damage there, and there's stress, and there's definitely things that can be sued over, but the law does not look at this like a windfall situation where you're supposed to get a whole bunch of money for your trouble. The law looks at this more as a make you whole, restore you to the condition you were in before they made those claims. That's not, going to make someone profit off of a lawsuit. So that's a disincentive for a lawsuit, is that you're not going to profit off of it. But it's also an incentive for a lawsuit that you aren't going to take a loss on it if you prevail. The risk is, will you prevail? Another question, BSG's position was that they own the originating content and therefore they have either legal jurisdiction or something is legal. Well, yes and no. They own the underlying content, but they have granted everyone an express license to stream it.
Yes.
I did a couple searches and found a couple places where they say, yes, go ahead and stream Tarkov. There's no NDA, there's no limits. So that's everybody. That means Eroktik can still do it up until the time that they revoke Eroktik's implied or expressed license. So one more time, everybody has an express license to stream when the company says that they can stream, and that license can be revoked at any time. It's only revocable as to future videos. So if I made a video or Eroktik made a video under that license, and then Tarkov says, well, we disagree with your content, they can't then claim it as a copyright legally. So that doesn't apply here. If they did all this after Eroktik made all these videos, and those videos would have been made under the blanket everyone can stream policy. So that's not a thing. The agreement or the license needs to be updated, either specifically as to Eroktik, literally with BSG calling him or writing him and saying, we revoke your express permission to stream our game, or they can literally make it public and say, we're updating our streaming policy, everyone. This list of people, including Eroktik, can no longer stream. Both things would be pretty valid exercises of change in their streaming policy. There's an argument that they didn't notify people, but whatever. Forgetting nitty-gritty details, they didn't do that. That's how that works out. Would there be any way to get punitive damages? Yes and no. Punitive damages would only be available for the most egregious conduct that needs to be punished as opposed to just remedied. The judge, you could certainly make an argument that Tarkov's behavior is so egregious that it deserves to be punished. Sure. But I don't think there's anything under copyright law for punitive damages. So you'd have to find some other theory. The defamation of title theory might work. Maybe there is another type of claim or property theory that would work. Commenting on it without content from the game doesn't even require a license, correct? Copying or commenting on it with content from the game is likely a fair use, as long as you follow the other provisions of fair use rules, for instance, using the minimum amount of content necessary to make your commentary point, etc. So follow those, and you don't need a license either. So Eroktik could also be in the right for making commentary on those videos using the Tarkov gameplay, if he did. All right. The devs, Nikita himself, were on Talking Tarkov podcast trying to stir up hate for LD. They insinuated that I enjoyed things in my rear. Yeah, that's just opening up more claims now, because if they're doing something more than rhetorical hyperbole, which was what was recently said. It was the Stormy Daniels versus Donald Trump thing. It wasn't defamation of Stormy Daniels, whatever he said, because it was rhetorical hyperbole. So, it could be rhetorical hyperbole, oh, that guy, he likes it up the butt, whatever. However, when you make that kind of claim under certain circumstances, that's an automatic defamation claim called a defamation per se claim. So you don't even have to prove certain elements of defamation that you had to prove before. The nature of the thing that they're saying about myself in that piece, the nature of the thing that they're saying is recognized by the court as a pretty much automatic defamation case, if that's all true. Thank you, physicist. All right, I have to take this stream out at some point, or we're going to be here forever. It's already been an hour. And I'm sure Kelly thought this was only going to be like 20 minutes.
Yes.
So she's been sitting here patiently, just appeasing me. And I can hear her sighing every once in a while, like, when am I going to get to bed?
It's not. It's just my back is hurting. I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't have to stay. It's okay. Can we get a quick TLDR? Okay, so yes. So Battle State Games escaped from Tarkov, apparently issued 18 DMCAs against one person. I think it was just one person, Eroktik. There were other, there's someone else, LD is claiming that they did it to them too, but in a separate instance. And it was allegedly done because Tarkov did not like things that Eroktik was saying. And so the statement that they later issued said that they took down things with the DMCA first, and now they're going to conduct an investigation, possibly now that people are upset. I don't know if they were going to conduct such an investigation before people got upset, but now that people are upset, they'll conduct an investigation and consider releasing the claims that aren't warranted only after some damage has been done. So that's not how that's supposed to work either. Physicist, yes, if it's true, then it's not defamation. That's the truth is always a defense to defamation. That is true. So anyway, good night, everybody. Have a wonderful, I guess it's going to be Tuesday shortly for me here. So have a wonderful Monday evening and a wonderful Tuesday. I'll see you in our next video. I don't have all the information to read to everybody here, I don't think. Actually, I do. I did get it up. Hang on. Thank you very much to our, oh no, I don't. I only have the big list. Thank you very much to our Patreon supporters is what I'll say. Thank you to Justin Rogers, who was supporting at the $500 level in December. And I know there were others. Wait, maybe I can get it up here in one of these former videos. I like to thank them personally, but I don't think I'm going to be able to because I can't get it up. Sounds like a personal problem. Anyway, love you all. Have a good night. On that note, we will end, and I will see you guys later. Bye. Yes, end.